everybody. My name is Maria, and this is my XO, Amy.
Hello.
Hey. All right, and today's episode of our brand new show, the Stella Pirata Show, we are going to be talking about Voyager, Message in a Bottle, Season 4, Episode 14, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, and my XO, Amy here, she is the one who picked this episode. So, starting off with the first question, why did you pick this episode?
Why, thanks, Maria. Actually, so when Maria kind of essentially goaded me into doing this, she was like, hey, here's your buy-in, pick the episode. And I was like, all right. And then I thought about the series and which ones I like the best, and I realized, you know what, I'm going to go with the series that kind of brought me into Star Trek, which was Voyager, because it was I'm on the younger side of the fandom, and it was the show that was premiering as I was growing up, so it was the first one that I got to watch live on air every week. So it was a bit of a nostalgia trip for me to revisit an episode. And then I was thinking about the types of which episodes I like the best, and if anybody knows me, I like humor, so I came down with the one that I thought was one of the funniest episodes, which was Season 4, Episode 14, Message in a Bottle, the one with Andy Dick.
Okay. And so what about this episode was really funny for you?
Well, just the between Robert Picardo and Andy Dick, them playing off of each other with the two different EMHs, essentially just arguing about different things, like, oh, if you feel like that, go cower in the computer for a while, and then the whole you're breathing down my neck, well, my breath is simulated, well, so is my neck, stop it off or knock it off anyway.
That was funny.
That kind of thing, it's kind of like classic Trek humor.
It is, it really
is
at
its finest,
right? And so, like, I rewatched this episode because, it's been a while since I've watched this episode. And like, I did enjoy the humor. Like, Andy Dick played this type of role. So, like, because his comedy is, like, a little different. He's
a little gutter about
a little gutter.
Stuff.
That's the word I was looking for. Gutter. Yeah, it's a little gutter. So, it was a little different, like, it was still funny, It was just different. It was weird to see him in that
PG version of Andy.
Yeah, PG. Yeah, PG version of. That's what I was looking for. Thank you, Amy. The PG version. So like, starting off of the episode, I found it very interesting about the interaction between B'Elanna Torres and 7 and 9.
Oh God, I felt that on a spiritual level. As soon as it's been a while since I've watched this episode, and I saw that interaction, I was like, because as a manager now, Chakotay having to go and step up to B'Elanna and say, look, you find a way, you're a senior officer, to deal with her. I was just like, he's like speaking my language.
Yes.
Although
I
felt like her said on a spiritual level that Chakotay had to say to B'Elanna that you are a senior officer and you're going to have to find a way to deal with her. And it was just like, oh my God, as a manager, that's sometimes how I have to tell the other people, like, figure out a way, make it work kind of deal. But the actress that plays B'Elanna, I felt her acting was a little forced in that scene. She was it was a little over the top for me.
Okay.
But I enjoyed the conflict between B'Elanna and Seven, because there's, that stuff that Seven is essentially pulling, like summoning the captain there. That's something I wouldn't tolerate.
Right. But I enjoyed, talking about that relationship, that dynamic between those two characters. Later in the episode, I thought it was really nice of, like, B'Elanna just like saying, hey, like, you're rude, like, and 7 and 9, like, she's relearning her humanity. So, so she's not going to have any concept of, how her directness is being interpreted. Perceived. Yeah. So, like, I thought that was a really good conversation, so B'Elanna found a way, talk, don't just, like, go to Chakotay
Mhm.
you know, have that conversation.
Confront the issue.
So yeah, so I enjoyed that aspect of the episode. Because I always like going to the human interests of
Mhm.
Star Trek. Golly gee, I'm a sociologist.
Well, one of
Imagine
the
that.
reasons why I enjoyed this episode is that you like Voyager, the whole series is about how they're trying to get back home.
Mhm.
And this episode really highlights that longing
Yes.
of, the worry and the anticipation that there might be a message sent and they might hear back. And, then the Hirogen are introduced like midway through and that might screw up their plans. And you can just like the anxiety that the crew is feeling is almost palpable.
Right.
That you could just feel it.
And going off of that, Amy, I really like that hope that this crew had, because remember in the scene, Janeway was writing a letter to her fiance Mark, and writing to her relatives. Even Chakotay admitted, like, yes, I wrote a letter to like a cousin in
Ohio. Yeah.
Like people like their hopes are getting up, and so that was just really good to see, like that longing, like what you're talking about, that longing and stuff. And so that was a good thing to see in this episode too, as well. So what other aspects of this show, of this episode, did you like?
Well, I like the humor. I like the longing. I thought the Prometheus, the design of the Prometheus was pretty awesome. It was kind of neat to like check back in with the Alpha Quadrant, see what the Alpha Quadrant's doing. And I like the line of Andy Dick says something about Starfleet's busy with the Dominion, and the Doctor's like, the who?
The who? Who's the Dominion? Yeah.
Voyager has no idea that Starfleet's fighting this giant war with the Dominion at the same time that they're completely lost in the Delta Quadrant. But I like the design, the sleekness of that ship. And what did you like about it?
What I like about it, well, I liked the sleekness of the ship, and also like the ship splitting off into 3 different pieces, and then like a computer like like tell me the target, and then the Romulans.
Yeah.
And but also talking about like like the technology and stuff. I also like the scene where Robert Picardo's character didn't know which tool to pick up when the other EMH was like when performing like surgery on that Romulan who got injured. He was like, this, so
the medicine
they got to play off of each other. That's why like they, granted the EMH Mach 2, obviously more advanced than Mach 1, as Andy Dick's character conveniently, reminded Robert Picardo's character. And so like I enjoyed like they just played off of each other really well.
In the beginning they had a very adversarial relationship, and towards the end they kind of like reconciled through this shared experience of taking down the Romulans, and came together, and it's almost like friendship at the end.
Right, exactly. It was just this camaraderie at the very end, and 2 EMH doctors took down the Romulans. Yeah.
It almost makes you wonder why Starfleet doesn't put some sort of like EMH assault. The Doctor plays with that with a later episode, but it makes you wonder why they don't have something in place like that if the crew ends up all dead and they're taken over by a hostile enemy. Why they don't have some sort of, holographic, I guess, take back over the ship force.
Ship force, yes.
It just kind of is there until hey, all the humans are dead or all the crew's dead, okay, let's appear and take back the ship so that your technology's not lost, especially on a prototype ship like
ship. Yeah, you're being a little careless there. So but yeah, so that was really good. And also like I'm just touching again on the humor piece. Like where Robert Picardo's character is like, yeah, I even have a program for sex.
Can you share that subroutine with me before you leave?
Yeah, can you share that subroutine with me before you go?
I made a little addition to my program.
An addition. So yeah, that was pretty funny too. So like what part of like this so what aspects of the episode worked really well for you?
Well, obviously the relationship between the two EMHs worked well for me.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, the 7 and 9 and B'Elanna Torres relationship towards the end. In the beginning, it was a little, the acting was a little weird in the beginning between Chakotay and B'Elanna. I also felt the acting was a little bit weird between Tom Paris and Harry Kim in the medbay scene. Yeah. Right. Although I did appreciate Paris kind of having that throwback line of "I'm a pilot, not a doctor."
Yeah, exactly. You know, channeling DeForest Kelley there for a second. So, which is always nice.
And you can appreciate how he's just like, oh, I hate this. Create a new one so I don't have to do this. You know, he got trained as a medic and now all of a sudden he's the ship's doctor.
Right. Well, thank goodness all he had to worry about was cases of heartburn.
Yeah.
I mean, even Neelix got into, like, going back to what we were talking about, the longing. Even Neelix was trying to adapt and like learning American. I was interested. It struck me using the word American.
You know, because like, well,
yeah, you know, and also still using the name of the states. I found that a little interesting, you know. So, but yeah, like even Neelix got into like trying to make like an American chili, and he caused a lot of heartburn.
One thing I was a little disappointed in this episode was the lack of just Tuvok in general. I think he had one line towards the end of the episode.
Yeah,
and that was it. Like he was on the bridge scene at the beginning, and then he was in the med bay scene at the end, and that's it.
Yeah, it was very limited on Tuvok. It was. And well, you know, there's been other episodes, you know, like, you know, some characters just not really like the main focus, you know.
Yeah. Well, obviously the episode's focus was the doctor on this one.
Yeah, it was all about the doctor. So this was definitely a doctor episode. So
yeah. But did you feel like a little like teary-eyed towards the end when the doctor's like, oh, I talked to Starfleet directly and Starfleet Command directly, and you were declared lost 14 months ago, but we set the record straight and we're telling all of your families and they're going to do everything they can to come up with a plan to get you back. Do you feel a little teary-eyed? Like
not so much teary-eyed, but like I was just like a relief because like I like really watched like the facial expressions of Janeway and Chakotay. It's like, wow, like
we're not alone anymore.
They know. Yeah. You know. So yeah, so like it just that sense of hope. Like, wow, they know. Like they know we're here, you know, we're not dead. You know, so yeah, that just like rejuvenated the whole entire crew, you know, like my gosh, they know because obviously the EMH, he's going to give them extremely detailed, like, you know, obviously, you know, like they just got to download a file and boom, you know, so, you know, so they know everything, so nothing was left out. So like, you know, not teary-eyed, but just a sense of relief, you know, and happy for the crew, you know, so.
Did you think it was good science fiction?
I think it was good science fiction because like sometimes like in science fiction, like, you know, it doesn't have to be all technobabble. Like you can like have some humanity, have like some humor, you know, like it doesn't have to be.
It's not always that high stakes of an episode. Although it was a little bit high stakes in the beginning when they're like, oh, you've got like 10 seconds to get sent across the, you know, 60,000 light years. Right. And they're like, got 10 seconds, and then they're having this conversation between Janeway and EMH, and I'm like, dude, you have 10 seconds. Go.
Yeah, so like they had a couple moments of high stakes, you know, like when the alien race like said, oh hey, stop bumming on our network here. Yeah. And stop bumming on our network. And then yeah, you had that high stakes moment. Then obviously the whole Romulan thing, you had the high stakes moment right there. But then like in between, I think it was a good mix of just like some humor,
Yeah.
and so like I liked it, So I thought overall it was good sci-fi. And what did you think?
Oh, I thought it was great sci-fi. That's why
Yeah.
I picked the episode.
That's why you picked the episode. So yeah. So what other questions can we cover up here?
I mean, if you would rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rate it?
Um, from 1 to 10, I would rate it like 7, 8.
Yeah, I was
I
thinking
enjoyed
7.
it. I enjoyed it. I thought it had some good humor points. But what is it an episode where like you will forever ever remember it like a memorable quote like saying like Cupid, I am not a merry man. Does it have like a memorable?
Well, it might, because you have the adding of the subroutine in there, little addition to the program, and
Yeah.
who's your target? The Romulans. You have some of those.
Right.
Well, they're probably not as high on the list as something like Admiral, there'll be whales here.
Yeah, there'll be whales here.
It's probably not as high as that. Yeah.
Hello, computer.
I think it does progress Voyager's storyline.
Yeah.
Because it's the first time they've made contact back with the Alpha Quadrant. It's not a filler episode in that regard. But it's one that could possibly be skipped over, though.
Right.
Depending on your, if you want to blaze through Voyager and just focus on the really intense bits.
Yeah.
Then you could skip over that episode, but I wouldn't skip over that episode because it's great humor.
Yeah, it's good humor. So, but yeah. So yeah, overall, I think it is a good episode. And I enjoyed rewatching it, for this episode. For our very first episode of the Stella Pirata show. So,
and the most random episode I could possibly pick.
Yeah, exactly.
You were probably thinking I was gonna pick some like really big name episode, and I was like, "You're this one."
Right, and I'm like, which one was this again? But hey, it's all good. It's all good. But,
well, next time you get to pick the episode, and then
it's gonna be some Q episode because Captain's pick, Captain's prerogative. So,
if you enjoyed this episode, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and if you are interested in the Stella Pirata, you can sign up at Starfleet International site sfi.org. We are in Region 7, and you just sign up. It's $5 a year, and you could be a member of the crew.
Right.
Thank
and
you.
Please. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I just said thank you.
Okay. All right. And if you like this video and would like to see more Stella Pirata episodes, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Where's me rum?